So, guinea pigs, humans, and a mystery. This is I guess, a sort of expansion of the material we did in vitamin C in the micronutrients lecture. So there's a little bit of overlap in some of the slides. This was originally done as a lecture for a Royal Society of Chemistry event a few years back. Okay, so moving on. Yes, that's what we're going to be looking at. We'll come back and talk about this more in the organisation of this lecture. I think a little bit more in the tutorial, because I'd like to talk about how we organise our thoughts on larger sort of scale reviews of a topic. Okay, so what do we have in common, these people and these critters here? We need some definitions first. Endogenous nutrients, those which we can synthesise ourselves. Exogenous nutrients are those we must obtain from our diet. Vitamin C cannot be produced endogenously, so, like most vitamins and all minerals, it is said to be an essential nutrient. Animals which can't produce endogenous vitamin C include guinea pigs, a range of fruit-eating bats, including this Indian one, the red-vented bulbul songbird, which is from India, and a bunch of other songbirds, as we'll see, some fish, several insects, and the Arthropoda suborder primates, which includes monkeys, chimpanzees, gorillas, and us. Okay, so the essentials of nutrition, just a quick reminder. Essential nutrients are those we must get from our diet. So, velociraptors. This velociraptor in the film Jurassic Park was actually probably a Utah raptor, which doesn't sound as cool. According to both the book and the film, the dinosaurs were lysine dependent, preventing them from escaping from the island. That is to say, they could not produce endogenous lysine, an amino acid which for us is an essential nutrient. All vertebrates are lysine dependent in that sense, including Mr. Spielberg. Okay, so moving on. The mystery of vitamin C. A little bit of chemistry on vitamin C synthesis. It's reasonably complex, but it's well understood across a wide range of species. You can see the paper linked here if you want more background. Or don't. It's entirely up to you. The numbers in the process refer to the enzymes catalysing each step of the process. Now, it goes just fine until we reach L-gulonolactone, GULO, we're going to call it from now on. This is a key enzyme. In anthropoid apes, including humans, passeriform, birds, teleosts, and some bats, the ability to express this enzyme has been lost, so these species cannot synthesize vitamin C. Why this is remains a reasonably open question. More on this later. So it's GULO, which is step number 6, which is right down here. It's worth pointing out that the rest of it, the pathway, isn't redundant because all of these substances are involved in other facets of our biochemistry. We just can't make ascorbic acid vitamin C. Most other species can synthesize vitamin C, including 4,000 mammalian species. As mentioned, there's a range of species which we'll have a look at in a little bit more detail. This is just Darwin's first attempt at drawing a tree of life, included just to fill up a bit of space and because it's a cool image. As mentioned, none of the anthropoids can synthesize vitamin C. Hence a gorilla with the fruity ice lolly. Why does a gorilla get a fruity ice lolly? Because it asked for one, obviously, as the old joke has it. The simians or anthropoids are higher primates, including the genus Homo, that is to say us, the humans. Apes, like us, are distinguished from monkeys in that the latter have tails and we don't. This image links through the Jane Goodall Institute. It's well worth a look if you're interested in primate evolution and her work done on chimps and bonobos. Genetic evidence suggests that loss of GULO functionality occurred about 60 million years ago for the primates that were affected. Again, we'll come back to the reasons for this a little bit later on. We notice again most mammals have a functional GULO gene. What other ones that do, other species that don't? The teleosts. They're a member of a large and extremely diverse group of race-finned fishes. Dominant fish of the present day. They rose in the Mesozoic era, so about 70 or 80 million years ago, and include about 20,000 living species. This includes the famous living fossil coelacanth, which were thought to have gone extinct at the end of the Cretaceous 65 million years ago, until a live one was trawled up off South Africa in 1938. The passeriform birds can't synthesize vitamin C either. They're the true perching birds. They have 4 toes with 3 directed forwards and 1 directed backwards. The word comes from the Latin for sparrow, and we got a picture of a sparrow there, and formish for shaped. It includes more than half of all bird species. They're sometimes known colloquially as perching birds or songbirds, and again, they can't produce their own vitamin C, but they're sort of well known for eating fruit, so we can't really see this bird here, but it's got a little bit of a fruit, a little fruit in its mouth. Okay, so roles of vitamin C. Vitamin C plays a role in controlling infections and healing wounds. It's an antioxidant that can neutralise harmful free radicals. More on that in a later lecture. It's needed to make collagen, a fibrous protein in connective tissue that is weaved through various systems in the body: nerves, immune system, bone, cartilage, blood, and lots of others. It also helps make several hormones and chemical messages used in the brain and nerves. There's a couple of, if you, as usual, look things up if you're interested. I'll mention carnitine. This is a compound biosynthesized from the amino acids lysine and methionine. In living cells, it is required for the transport of fatty acids from the cytosol into the mitochondria during the breakdown of lipids, that is, say, fats, for the generation of metabolic energy. So there's lots of roles. Collagen, I say, is probably the most relevant one. Collagen has a triple helical structure, like DNA, which is a double helical structure, and it's the most abundant mammalian protein. In this image of skin here, collagen is arranged in bubbles under the bundles, under the skin, with fibres having no particular orientation. It just provides structure, but it's very important in doing that. The triple helical collagen chains are incorporated in bundles called fibrils that are used to build collagen fibres. And again, this is essential to provide the structural strength needed in connective tissues. And without this, we get scurvy. We've covered this before, and there's a good video here reviewing collagen and the consequences of insufficient collagen synthesis, which you can watch in your own time. And another relevant issue is iron. Iron in general is most biologically available from heme sources such as meat. Non-heme sources such as fruit and nuts may contain significant amounts of iron, but vitamin C is a powerful enhancer of non-heme iron absorption and can reverse the inhibiting effects of substances such as tea and calcium phosphate, which can reduce the rate at which people can absorb iron, particularly older people. We may come back to that a little bit later on in the module. Okay, so again, a little bit of overlap with stuff we've done before in the history of our understanding of vitamin C, but I brought in a few other things as well, just to provide a wider view of how we understand vitamin C as a case study. Well-known tea starter, Captain James Cook, was born in what one recent biography described as a mud hut in Marton, just a few miles from where I'm writing this. He's often credited with good on-board practice in the prevention of scurvy. During his Pacific voyages, Cook was supplied with 40 bushels of malt, 1,000 kilograms of portable soup, that's about 1,000 pounds that is, that's about 500 kilograms, vinegar, mustard, wheat, together with proper quantities of sauerkraut and rob. Now, sauerkraut is what you'd expect it is. Rob is a concentrated form of lemon juice made by evaporating it over a fire until it acquires the consistency of a syrup, which stops it fermenting, but unfortunately probably destroys the vitamin C. So this didn't prevent 5 of his crew coming down with scurvy, although non-fatally. William Lind, again, as we mentioned before, is probably a more important figure in our understanding of this issue. Lind's trial was one of the first scientific trials to look at the effect of diet on a specific medical condition, obviously a big deal these days. It was largely ignored at the time, possibly due to its confused and unscientific arguments, as one biographer put it. Again, I've mentioned this before, elixir of vitriol is dilute sulfuric acid, to which is added alcohol, ginger and cinnamon, presumably to make it taste nicer. Whether he did or not, I really couldn't say. As might be expected from our perspective, those concoctions that contain some vitamin C were seen to show some anti-scorburific effect. That is to say, they prevented or reduced the impact of scurvy. Again, it is important to point out that this was new knowledge when Lind did his work, and vitamin C was still unknown as a molecule. 40 years after Lind's original publication, the Royal Navy adopted his idea, so eliminating scurvy from among its soldiers. But it took to right up to the First World War before the Merchant Navy came on board. During the 18th, having said that, during the 18th and 19th century, as you're probably well aware, there were many problems with food quality. This is quote as part of a public spat between W.B. Harrison, who claimed that lime juice on the merchant ship St Andrew's Castle, which had 5 cases of severe scurvy on board, was high quality, and a chap called Leach, who rebutted this in the Times. It wasn't lime juice at all. It was either citric acid or water. Yeah, and it probably was. There was lots of food adulteration took place at this time, which led to the anti-food adulteration regulations that were brought in this country and around the world in the 19th century. Okay, so we'll have a little bit of a break here. It's about halfway, and we'll come back for part 2 in a minute.